Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to be discussing another market failure because of externalities, and that is the negative externalities in consumption, right? The negative externalities that arise in consumption, obviously, when you're consuming, the consumers, based on self-interest, because they just want to maximize their benefits and utility. They basically allocate resources based on the fact that their marginal benefits equals to marginal cost, and according to them, yes, they ensure that their consumer surplus is maximized and private efficiency is achieved and allocative efficiency achieved. But still, their actions or the fact that they allocate resources and they consume to an extent where private benefits are equal to private cost, that results into certain negative externalities that results into social benefits being less than social costs, right? And because of that overconsumption, that there's a welfare loss to society. I'm going to be discussing that in this video. So yes, they might be efficient from the private efficiencies perspective, the private equilibrium, but from society's perspective, that generates a welfare loss, and we'll see that in this video. So first of all, remember that when you're talking about negative externalities in consumption, these are basically cost to the third party, that is as a result of the actions of the consumers. And obviously those third parties can be anyone, individuals, different people, and basically they are not compensated for, just like we studied in the previous video. Also remember that when consumers are consuming, they want to maximize their utility, and that is their private benefit that they want to maximize, and for each additional unit that they consume. But remember that when you're talking about negative externalities in consumption, what you will do is that your social benefits will be less than your private benefits. And the simple reason is that the negative externalities during consumption will basically bring down the social benefits, because when you deduct negative externalities from the private benefits, the social benefits fall down, right? And that is why we see that the social benefit diagram, the social benefit line or social benefit curve is less than your private benefit curve, right? It's to the left of the private benefit curve. Okay, so moving forward, we're assuming that the private cost is equal to social cost, which means that there's no negative externality in production, because the simple reason is that we want to not complicate things, and we want to just show us, if you want to show that there's only negative externalities in consumption. So we want to make things easier for us. So we are assuming that the private cost equals social cost and there's no negative externalities in production. Now, guys, there could be different examples as far as negative externalities to third parties in terms of negative externalities in consumption are concerned. So, for example, let's say if someone is smoking and the passerbys are inhaling that smoke, right, from the cigarette users who are using that cigarette. So obviously, passive smoking is another example. So that's negative externality. So there could be increasing chances of, let's say, respiratory problems, lung cancer, etc. Also remember that that is not the only example that you can give. Also remember that there are individuals who, let's say, consume fast food or high cholesterol diet that may create heart problems for them, and especially fast food that may result into them being obese or let's say diabetic, right? तो वो diabetic हो सकते हैं, obese हो सकते हैं, that will actually अब बहुत से लोग कहते हैं इसका क्या impact है ना, तो बहुत बहुत बड़ा impact है, because that is actually technically increasing the burden on the health service of the country, राइट? बिकॉज देखें ना, ये कोई प्रॉब्लम, मतलब ये कोई रीज़न नहीं है ना, मतलब आप अपने आप को जो है वो आप जो है वो इस तरह का फूड कंज्यूम करके जो है वो एक हेल्थ इकोनॉमी की हेल्थ सर्विस के ऊपर जो है वो बर्डन डाल रहे हैं, प्रेशर डाल रहे हैं, बिकॉज obviously ये जो health services होती हैं, especially let's say the national health service in the UK is funded by the government, right? So that's basically, and that's actually financed from the taxpayers money, so that's actually imposing a cost on third party, on the taxpayers basically. So when there's a burden on the health service, that's actually imposing a cost on taxpayers, because वो taxpayers के पैसों से ही वो health service fund हो रही होगी. तो आपकी ना समझने की वजह से देखें ये हो रहा है. So basically here the third party is the taxpayers, because they will be the one who will be funding these costs, right? So ये दो तीन examples आप basically दे सकते हैं अपने in your exam regarding the negative externalities in consumption, ठीक है? So as far as the diagram is concerned, अगर आपको पहली वाली वीडियो आप देख चुके हैं, वीडियो 2 देख चुके हैं, तो ये डायग्राम आपको ज़्यादा मुश्किल लगेगा नहीं. इसमें सिंपल ये है, वो एक्स वाई एक्सिस वैसे ही लेबल करेंगे जैसे हमने वीडियो 2 में देखा था. मार्जिनल प्राइवेट कॉस्ट को इक्वल करेंगे मार्जिनल सोशल कॉस्ट के, और लेट्स से द प्राइवेट कॉस्ट इज़ इक्वल टू द प्राइवेट बेनिफिट. तो यहाँ पे एलोकेटिव एफिशिएंसी हो रही है, बिकॉज द मार्जिनल बेनिफिट equals the marginal cost, because यहाँ marginal benefit or marginal cost in terms of private benefit and private cost, right? So there's private equilibrium, right? There's allocative efficiency being achieved and Q1 quantities being produced at a price of P1 basically. तो ये तो हमने देख लिया कि यार P1 के प्राइस P1 चार्ज हो रही है, क्वांटिटी Q1 कंज्यूम हो रही है. So in a free market basically, अगर आप इसकी एनालिसिस करेंगे तो you write that in a free market basically the individuals, because देखें हम तो ये कह रहे हैं कि जी in a free market allocative efficiency होती है, जो कि होती है. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा Q1 P1 पे allocative efficiency नहीं होगी. But the fact is that there will also be there's also this economic activity or outcome is resulting into social undesirability and acting against public interest. It's generating it's generating a welfare loss that is equal to the red shaded area. So in a free market, the individual consumers will, तो इसको लिखेंगे ये कि the individual consumers they only consider their private benefits in consumption. तो consumers तो सिर्फ अपने private benefits consider करेंगे consumption में. They will ignore the full social benefits of their actions. जो consumers होंगे basically they will ignore the full social benefits of their actions. ठीक है ना? Because when they consider the social benefits of their actions, there is a negative externality as far as their actions are concerned that a society has to face, a third party has to face. And that negative externality is basically in the form of negative benefits to third parties, right? And if they consider that the social benefit of their consumption would be less than the private benefit, so less quantity should be consumed then, right? But they will not consider that because they don't really care. They will try to maximize their utility and maximize their consumer surplus, in fact, and basically they will try to maximize at the private equilibrium. They will try to be allocatively efficient because consumers make sure in a free market that they act rationally. But this rational behavior is not socially efficient. Although yes, this might be rational behavior but not socially efficient. So yes, we are now actually arguing the fact that self-interest of consumers might result into rational allocation, but then again, that's against social welfare and social interest. So we could clearly see that resources are allocated at the private equilibrium of P1. They're allocated at private equilibrium of P1 and Q1 instead of socially optimum levels of P star and Q star. So we could clearly see that there's an overconsumption and overproduction in the market, because obviously Q1 जो है वो Q star से ज़्यादा है, right? तो उसका end result क्या है? End result क्या है? Analysis में क्या है? End result इसका है misallocation of resource. तो एक चीज़ हमें नज़र आ रही है, misallocation है resource की. जाहिर सी बात है misallocation of resource है तो allocative efficiency भी है, और ये जो allocative efficiency है वो basically social efficiency है society के perspective से. तो जो misallocation हो रही है वो society के perspective से हो रही है. वैसे जो है वो optimum resource allocation हो रही है at this point. At this point we could see that the private cost is equal to the private benefit, and there's nothing wrong in that. In a free market, the private efficiency is achieved. Very good. I mean, everyone is happy. Consumers are happy in maximizing their consumer welfare. Producers are happy in maximizing their producer surplus, and things are going good and smooth for the free market. But then again, this is resulting into social inefficiencies, right? That is what we will argue in the exam. यही तो क्वेश्चन पूछता है आपसे A2 एग्जाम के अंदर बेसिकली, यही तो लिख कर आना होता है आपको बेसिकली. ठीक है, चॉइस ऑफ वर्ड्स इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट गाइज. सो वेर टू मैनी, तो आप ये लिखोगे ना कि यार ठीक है दिस इज देयर इज एलोकेटिव इनएफिशिएंसी एंड टू मैनी, बहुत ज़्यादा टू मैनी रिसोर्सेज आर एलोकेटेड टू दिस पर्टिकुलर मार्केट दैन इज सोशली डिज़ायरेबल, right? And this generates a welfare loss equal to the red shaded area. कि ये आपका जो है वो basically welfare loss to society है. Because the society, and why is this a welfare loss society? This is a welfare loss society, guys, because the reason is, I'll tell you the reason. थोड़ा सा इसको neat and clean कर लें. The simple reason is कि this was Q1 and this was P1 and this is P star and this is Q star and this was your welfare loss to society. The simple reason is, अगर थोड़ी इसकी logic भी आप समझ लो कि at this point, let's say at this point for this unit, I mean, first we know that there's an overproduction, right? Because you're producing Q1 instead of Q star. So let's suppose for this unit, this is the marginal social cost, while this is the marginal social benefit. So we could see that the marginal social benefit is less than the marginal social cost, because this is the marginal social cost, right? Which is equal to the private cost. But then again, the fact is that the marginal social benefit is less than the marginal social cost. or the marginal social cost is more than the marginal social benefit. So there's a net loss to society that is clearly shown through a welfare loss of the shaded triangle. So अगर आप ये देखें कि ये जितने भी यूनिट्स हैं Q स्टार से Q1 तक, हर एडिशनल यूनिट का जो मार्जिनल सोशल कॉस्ट है वो मार्जिनल सोशल बेनिफिट से ज़्यादा है. तो अगर मार्जिनल सोशल कॉस्ट माइनस मार्जिनल सोशल बेनिफिट करें, सो this is representing a welfare loss to society. It's representing a net social loss to society. There's a net loss to society. Society is losing by the amount of that shaded area in terms of welfare. There's a clear welfare loss to society. So ये आपने लिख कर आना होगा और इस तरीके से एनालाइज करना होगा. I hope you understood this video and enjoyed it as well. I'll see you all around in the next video. Until then, take care.